How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another installment of the Good Bit podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in again this week. We are always very grateful for your time. And this week, ladies and gents, what a film we are going to be tackling this week. Some say it is a hidden classic. Some say it's a hidden gem. Some people just say it's hidden. But ladies and gents, this week's film is, of course, Raise Your Voice. And it is chosen by my guest this week. Ladies and gents, welcome to the show. Finally, it is Ingram Noble. Ingram, you know, for the first time in, I don't know, the longest time, I'm speaking to someone on the podcast who not only is a fellow sort of content creator, fellow actor,
if you can call it that.
No, at this stage in our careers.
I didn't mean that, host. I just meant the shit that I produce.
Well, listen, we're going to get into that. We've got lots of things to chat about today. Yeah, you know, podcast host in your own right. And now it's like we were talking about doing this and stuff. We were planning on, like, you know, this is what we do, this is the rules, all that sort of stuff. But I was like, you know the gig. Do you know what I mean?
It is.
How is it? How is it being the guest and not the host, you know?
Oh, it's scary. It really is. Not that I'm out here to offend or to do anything like crazy. I was talking to my mum earlier and I was like, this is the one that I don't have control over. Yeah. This is the one that if in 3 weeks, like if I mention something and something happens in 3 weeks, I can't be like, edit that out now. But yeah, no, it's always fun and it's just nice. Like I can talk for England. Like I was in, Are you public with your relationship? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So I was in. I don't know. Like people, like sometimes I'll say something.
No, I get it. Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Please don't mention that." And I'm like, "Cool." Yeah. I was in drama school with your girlfriend Iona. Yeah. She knows how much I can fucking talk. You've probably been given forewarning about this, so it's always fun to just have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, I told Iona that you were coming on the show today, or I was going to be recording one of your episodes as well. And Iona says, I wonder how long it'll take for him to mention that he's kissed me.
I was going to wait for you to bring it up, not going to lie.
Well, we should mention that was a stage kiss,
yes,
everybody.
I was just going to say, like, I wasn't, like... And actually, while we're on we done the least amount of kissing. Like, we didn't kiss in rehearsals up until it was absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
and even
I know the feeling.
We sat and had a conversation. It wasn't anything awkward. It was more just like, don't know. It never felt necessary. Do you know what I mean? And I think you look at it differently when. So, for example, I was single. Iona was in a relationship, and you sort of do. Although you are an actor and you understand that we're not kissing for fun. We're kissing because it was essentially our job. There's still that sort of. I don't know how to put it, like mindfulness of that this person has a partner and that this person is romantically involved with someone else. So there was no need for us to be like winching straight off the bat.
Yeah. So I mean, when it's rehearsals as well, it's like that kind of giddiness that you have, right? Where it's like, oh my God, we need to do this scene today. And that became like a big thing. And I always remember like doing it in school and things like that and being like, that was such a big deal, you know?
Oh,
like,
I never had to kiss anyone in secondary school.
Oh, I did. My first one was like in fourth year at school. I was like 15 or something. Like when you're 15, that's like a huge thing.
No, I played all the reject roles in school. I'm trying to think. No, I never had to. I don't think. Well, I played Macbeth, but I don't know if we had to kiss.
So to kill a few people.
Yeah, and even then, that wasn't very good. I wasn't a committed actor back
then. That happens when you grow up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, we'll get into the film that you've chosen today, but there's so much to talk about because, as I was going to say about being the fellow podcast host, you've just passed your 100th episode of Drama School Dropout. How has that been for you? And tell us a little bit how you got started doing the podcast.
It's been such a wild ride, and like I recently did a project I think we're going to talk about, and I had to write a piece about creating the show, and I've never thought about it in one because I'm the type of person that gets overwhelmed very, very, very easily. And I've never sat back and actually like looked at Drama School Dropout as like a collective. I always think about it episode to episode, week to week. And I was sort of sitting back and thinking about it. And I started the podcast. I was quite late to the podcast game. I think everyone had already jumped on. And so it was October 2020 when I had the idea. And originally it was going to be called Keeping the Lights On. And I was going to talk to actors about all the weird jobs that they'd done to keep the lights on. And then I discovered that Jamie McKinley, fellow Scottish podcaster, had a podcast called Just Get a Real Job. And I was about 6 episodes too late.
Right.
So I can't actually remember when I decided that my unique selling point was going to be the fact that I'd had a really shit time at drama school and I'd dropped out.
Yeah.
But it's very fitting that I tried to make it all about me. Especially, I've got another podcast coming up that I don't ask any questions revolving around me, but I've called it the Ingram Noble Show. That's coming soon. A little plug.
There you go.
But yeah, like, and it was never because somebody asked me, was it like a Grease reference? Because obviously Beauty School Dropout, and I was like, genuinely, I wish it was, but
Yeah.
that didn't hit me until about it was season 2 when we started. So 10 episodes in, I was sat with Heather Spiden, who will get mentioned more in this episode. My like writing partner, my creative like creative partner.
Yeah.
We were sat doing some stuff for the play that we had written, and I used to have on my old Mac a sticker with the Drama School Dropout logo, and she started singing it in the theme to Beauty School
Yeah.
Dropout. And I was like, how the fuck have I never thought of that before? I was like, we're doing that. And then, like, literally 2 days later, I was in Heather's flat in Bridgeton, and our good friend Anna Davidson recorded the theme tune, and here we are. But yeah, it's been so wild. And I look back at some of the guests that I've managed to get, some that were merely pure like coincidences and luck.
Yeah.
And I've had some of them ones that don't know they're turning up. They think they're doing a 5-minute junket, and I'm like,
Oh,
here,
really?
like, we're here for an hour. Like, let's have a chat. And like, I look back, I've been so lucky. I've got to interview or hold conversation, I like to say, because I'm not interviewing anyone in any way, shape,
Right.
or form. With some of
Right.
like my personal heroes and icons, and like people keep saying to me, like, how are you gonna like? I remember when Susan Nixon, that episode came out, like, Susan is one of my heroes. She wrote 2 Pints, and I remember like a few people saying to me, like, how are you gonna top that?
Right.
And then like 4 episodes later, Blaine Weaver, who was the voice of Peter Pan. I know we're doing it on video this time, so I can show it off. Like, I've literally got a little statuette of Peter Pan like that sits on my desk. And it's been crazy. And I think if you would have told not even like 15-year-old Ingram, if you'd have told Ingram like right at the beginning of this process what this was going to turn into,
Right.
and that I'd stick at something for 100 episodes, I'd
Yeah.
have laughed in your face and told you to fuck off.
Yeah. And I mean, as you know, that's the hard part, like it's easy to kind of get going and stuff and be really excited for a small period of time, but it's
Yeah.
keeping it going. Consistency is the key. And that's always been the thing,
And
like when people see that it's a weekly thing, people are going to be on board.
And it's never consistent. There's, trust me, there was, I was thinking about it, and I'd fell out of love with it. It turned into a job by about episode 45, and I'd planned it out. I was going to finish at episode 50. I was going to tie it up in a nice little bow.
Really?
And then I had such a good time recording with my guests for my 50th. I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And it's why I'm kind of very selective about who I have on. So I don't ever want anyone that's just purely to promote. Like, I asked somebody to come on and they said no, and turns out they're friends with my cousin. And my cousin was like, do you want me to put a word in? And they will do it. And I said, no, because then they don't want to do it because they want to do it. They're doing it out of like a favor. And like, I just want to have fun now. And that's all it is. And it becomes, there's always that 10-minute mark in. I don't know if you experience this, where you watch the guest break from interviewee to friend,
Right.
and they feel like they're at comfort. And I love getting to that point. And I've rarely used any of the shit we talk about before that.
Yeah. Well, what happens with me when it's like a bigger name guest and I'm nervous myself? I've been doing this for so many years where it's the point where I don't get nervous when you go to record. But sometimes you have a guest and you're like, I'm going to be sitting chatting to this person, You get into kind of podcast and performer mode, but still, you're on Zoom with them or whatever, So I always try to have a wee conversation before we start recording. The example I always use is Jonathan Watson from Only an Excuse. It's someone that I've literally watched my entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're both supporters of the same football team, and I knew that. So before we started recording, I was like, "Oh, what do you make of this week?" And we just ended up talking about football for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he reminded me, he's like, "I've got this scheduled 11 till 12. I hope that's okay." And then the pressure's on because you're looking at the clock the whole time.
That's something that happens with me a lot, and I have a tendency. Sorry, my bottle's falling over.
That's right.
Stay. I have a tip. So a lot of people ask, like, how long do we need to schedule out? And I'd say, like, Normally, like an hour is a good time
Yeah.
slot, but if you've got half an hour, I can make it work. The only thing that I do like to make in my episodes, every episode, is stage right or stage shite, because
Right.
it's my favorite thing in the world. Um, Normally I average about an hour and 15,
Yeah.
and then it
That's
gets
probably about right.
edited.
Yeah.
But it gets edited down like very. I counted up the other day actually because I wanted to know how many hours I'd produced, and I think there was only maybe 6 or 7 hours. 6 or 7
Ah.
episodes, not hours. I've done a lot more than that. 6 or 7 episodes that had like sort of reached over the hour mark, but like that is quite, because then somebody tells a really good story, and you're sort of like, I've only got 45 minutes left with you. Can we wrap it up? But you don't want to
Hmm.
be rude, and I think
Yeah.
that's sort of the art of it. I don't get nervous anymore. Apart from, when's this coming out?
Monday.
Okay, right. Okay, I can't talk about. I had a guest on
You
recently.
can, and I'll just cut it if you want. You can tell me.
Well, it's just my guest name that I want to keep secret because it's for my 2 year anniversary.
Okay.
That was one that I got nervous for. I don't get nervous anymore. Like I just, somebody said to me, it was Michael Harney from Orange is the New Black, said to me, "Don't worry about it because everyone starts the day with their pants around their ankles," and that stuck with me. But Glee, like I grew up on Glee, like. And I got really fucking nervous doing that one. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, she was the one that was doing the conversation, and I saw myself break from host to friend, and it
And
was
that just
weird.
makes it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I
just
had
rambled there. Really sorry.
That's all right. Did you ever watch Keenan and Kel when you were younger? The Nickelodeon show.
No, I had Povo TV.
Oh, right, okay.
We didn't have Sky or anything
I
like
was I
that.
was very lucky. I was very lucky growing up. But I had Nickelodeon. It was Keenan and Kel, which is my favorite kids show of all time. And actually, the person who sings the theme song is Coolio, who just died today that we were
Wow.
recording, which is crazy. I'm actually talking about this earlier on at work, and then I was like, "My God, Coolio just died." But it's Teal Marchand who plays the mum in Keenan and Kel, and
Mm,
people are saying, "How did you get the mum from Keenan and Kel on the podcast?" And it's just one of those things you forget that they are just humans. They're
yeah.
just people. She followed me on Twitter. I sent her a DM, and it became like this nice conversation we were having. And then like she forgot that we were recording videos, so she was like, "Let me dress my backdrop." So she was like trying to fix the pictures on the wall and stuff. And I was like, "What are you doing? Like, just sit down. It doesn't matter what the backdrop looks like." You kind of forget that these are the things that everybody thinks
Mm.
about. So
It is mad, and it's that thing of how do people get them. I think I've only, other than the people I know, which are some of my best episodes actually, I've only ever gotten one guest from Instagram, and it was a 4 o'clock in the morning DM, and I was like, I couldn't find their agent's email. Oh no, I could, but they weren't replying to me.
yeah,
Um,
been there.
so I just, I can tell you who to avoid. I can tell you who just doesn't reply. Um, and I emailed him and I DM'd him on Instagram. It was Ethan Lawrence from Bad Education, who I've now sort of become friends with, which is, it's weird, isn't it? When like you sort of
Absolutely
now
weird.
referring to these people that you grew up with as friends. Like I literally the other night got an invite on WhatsApp to go to somebody's birthday party in Manchester, and I was like, how the fuck has this happened? But yeah, like Instagram, I thought was going to play a much more
Right.
pivotal part in and it hasn't. It has. I mean, I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but the
Of course.
website that I do use for my contacts has played the biggest part.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how it works. I was going to say you mentioned a couple of the big ones there, but who are a couple of the ones that you're just like, I can't believe I'm sitting chatting to them on a Zoom.
Susan Nixon. I grew up as a child of BBC Three, like
Hmm.
because I had Pavo Telly, and like I watched Two Pints well before I should have been allowed to watch
Yeah,
Two
me too.
Pints.
Me too.
It shaped my life. It's one of the, like I always say, it's really weird. Iona will hate me for saying this. Iona, fast forward. Shameless and Two Pints changed my life, and it's all I ever talk about in drama school classes, anything like that. It's a reason I'm an actor. It's the reason I write. I love to tell real people's real stories, and it's, yeah, like, so anyone from Shameless, I think, like I just had Aaron McCusker for my 100th. He was great, love him. Like, still get random voice notes off of him today. Like, it's crazy. Like, so Susan Nixon, anyone from Shameless, Blaine Weaver was a massive one. Voice of Peter
Yeah.
Pan. This is where I now forget people. Who's done the podcast that I'm allowed to talk
The one that
about?
I was always the most kind of like, whoa, that's so cool was Bart Johnson from High School Musical.
Yes. Yeah, that was a great one. Dinah Manoff from Greece. Bart Johnson was so lovely. And by the way, with that episode, I think was an hour and 15 before it got edited. He stood up for the whole time.
Oh, really?
He had like a studio backdrop and shit, but he was stood up and like he was cool as fuck. Dana Manoff from Greece, like it's mad that I've got a Pink Lady's phone number. Love
Yeah.
that. There was another one there that I was going to mention. Thomas Turgoose is my one greatest, not regret but sadness with the podcast.
What do you mean?
I wish it would have happened when I knew what the fuck I was doing.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, because he was like episode 24, 25, something like that. And it was one of those ones that I caught him purely he was doing press for something. Like, had he not been doing press, I wouldn't have got him.
Yeah.
And now that I look back on it, I didn't realize what like just a cultural icon he is.
Right.
I'm just like, this is England, you know what I mean? And I was really at the beginning. I don't think I knew what the fuck I was doing until about episode 70.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Like, it takes a long time, at least
yeah.
years anyway. Yeah.
So that one, I wish, like, maybe we can do it again one day. Who knows? Maybe you might be sick of
Yeah.
hearing me chat shit, but I wish that Thomas Turgoose had come later along in the process.
Yeah, that's interesting. Another reason why we kind of got chatting about doing this today is because you've just recently published or put out a
Yes.
magazine. My God.
Mad. Yeah, Dropout magazine available now.
Yeah, Dropout magazine. And we obviously there's some thank yous in order because for the second time, you weren't the first, for the second time, the good bit has been featured in a magazine I've got here. For everyone watching at home, here you go.
Oh, yes, that's my face.
That's
I keep forgetting that we're on video.
We have Ingram's top podcast picks, and
Yes.
the good bit is on there at number 8. Number 8 is a robbery, I must say.
I mean, it wasn't. It was never ever meant to be. I mean, look, fucking Drama School Dropout and Reality TV 1 and 2. Like, it was never. It was never meant to be.
Chris Ramsey's podcast number 3.
That's how I got into podcasts, Shagged, Married, Annoyed. But it was never meant to be numbers. It was never meant to be a chart. It was supposed to be recommendations.
Yeah.
It just changed. And there's some podcasts on there that I love. Shagged, Married, Annoyed was the one that got me into podcasts. So you can blame Chris and Rosie Ramsey for all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like magazine, random day, got a phone call from XYZ. I don't want to say too much. We really love your podcast. Would you like to do a magazine? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah, sure.
I had full creative control. I shot the cover down in Chichester with a student photographer, Tilly Smith. I literally hounded my friends and some podcast guests for months to write something for me, and a couple of mistakes in there, but I'm very happy with how it turned out, and it's just sort of this thing now that exists in the universe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's definitely a passion project because, I mean, there's some serious hours put in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How was it knowing that you were writing something that people were going to like, not, I know they were going to read it, but look at it as an actual like article? You know what I mean? It seems
I
a bit
had
more
a breakdown about 3 weeks in. I'd already done it, and I had a breakdown and deleted everything and started again.
Really?
Like, I was still designing it 3 hours up to my deadline.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah. Were you because you'd left things to the last minute, or were you overthinking?
I wouldn't even call it overthinking. I like things to look the best that they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So I do all my own graphic design, posters for plays, podcast art, magazine. Nobody helped with that magazine. Not that it wasn't offered. I'm a control freak. It's the nicest way to put it. They're like book covers, anything like that, and I'm just one of these people that love to. Oh, Karen Gillan's not available to do my podcast. Just got the email
right on cue.
Yeah, it's. I just saw it there, and it was like I half read it, and it looked like she was doing it, but no. I'm just a control freak, and it's sort of something that. Because of that, because everybody knows that I'm basically my own in-house everything, everybody knows that it's me doing it. And I'm sort of just like, well, it's got to be fucking perfect.
Yeah.
And then there's still fucking mistakes in it.
There's always going to be. That happened one time where I was like, I had someone in control of the social media for the good bit. And then I didn't like the way the tweets looked. And that sounds so silly. Because there's only going to be a small amount of people who are going to see the tweet. But just because I'm seeing the tweet, I'm like, I got to fix it, you know?
Do you edit your own podcast?
Yeah.
Same.
I enjoy editing though. Do you know what I mean? It's always something I've done on the side. This is not an audition. I'm not editing your podcast.
No. I hired an editor for 2 episodes and hated it and couldn't do it and was like, sorry, you're out of a job. like I'm a control freak, like in the nicest possible way. I am, but like yeah, like creating the Dropout magazine was possibly the hardest thing I've ever done because I
Really?
was going even when I started the podcast, it's talking. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the be all and end
Well,
all
the
of the
hard
podcast
part
game.
comes when the editing and stuff, right?
Yeah,
And the promoting and stuff. That's the hard
yeah,
part.
and I taught myself how to do all of that on YouTube tutorials. Like
Yeah.
I will always say anyone can have a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I'm proof anyone can have one. Like I bought a £17 mic off of Amazon, taught myself to use GarageBand, and here we are. But like the plays I'd been watching, like when we did This Is Where We Get Off, I'd watched people direct for years. I had Heather, who, don't get me wrong, we'd never wrote anything before together, but she was like my sounding board of like, oh, I've got this idea, and she'd be like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like too far. And I would do the same for her. And that, but I've never done a fucking magazine.
Yeah.
Like I've never like created, and it wasn't just like we're just going to talk about the magazine. There's actual articles in there and
Right.
collating that. And I was like, I don't know. There was several points where I was like, I've got myself in too far.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I loved Marnie's excerpt. That was a beautiful piece.
Marnie
and I'll yeah, that's a good one.
a fucking queen. I love Marnie.
I do love Marnie. And the other thing I was going to mention before we move on is about the play. So not only did it go down so well on the one night it was on, but my God, now we're touring.
Yeah, well, we're not touring yet. Everything comes down to money, unfortunately.
That's always the killer, right? It's like, oh my God, you've got so many ideas, and then it's like, can you do that? And
especially now, so we did Webster's in April, which went down, sold out, 5-star reviews, fucking great. Great, the outcome, not the show was great. I'm not going to be that self-obsessed. But then when it came back to doing it again, the theaters tripled in price because of inflation. So that then, like, our ticket prices have gone up. So coming back, instead of a £10 ticket, we're now a 15 quid ticket.
Right.
And it's hard to do that because it goes against our beliefs. Because This Is Where We Get Off is a play about a real family. They're not really real, they're fictional, but their circumstances could be real in any way, shape, or form. And there are people who will extremely relate with the Moffat family. But yeah.
See, when I came to the show and it's in the program, and I was like, hang on a second, and Yvonne is my mum's name.
Well, my lecturer is called Yvonne Moffat.
Really?
My old lecturer from Kelvin is called Yvonne Moffat, and that's where she was. They never had a second name all the way through. She was always called Yvonne. And when we were writing the pilot of the TV show, and we decided that they needed a second name, and we couldn't get our head away from Moffat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was strange. But
but what I was saying is, it feels weird to up our ticket prices because we want the people that we're representing in this show for the show to be accessible to them, but we also still have to turn a profit.
Yeah, it's a business at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You know.
And I realized that fucking like we lost. I say that like she died. She didn't die. Our leading lady, Ruth Martin, who was right on from the beginning, a fabulous actress, she got COVID and she was immunocompromised. And 19 days before the show, we had to make the decision to replace her. Because she was 19 days. Laura Begley jumped in. Ruth left the rehearsal room at 1:00. Laura was there for 2, and we started from the start. We handed her a 2.5-hour long script and said, please learn it. And here's the blocking. And we started, and that was mad. Me and Heather literally were crying on my bed the day before the show, thinking, should we cancel? It was mad. But we're back, and we've got a cast this time, although we've been fucking purged by people not being able to turn up again. So we're not even at the first bit yet. But yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. We're filming a documentary about the show. Hope I'm allowed to talk about that. If not, sorry, Hev. We're doing a documentary. They're following us along because I didn't realise. We think we may have been the first bar play Pint a Pint, but we're going with the tagline, one of the first. stage plays to be put on in Scotland after the pandemic. So we're going to follow it
Hmm.
through. And obviously, Heather and I were a couple of fucking half-wits that didn't really know what we were doing and just
Right.
had some money and put a show on. And like I'd never fucking had experience of phoning places and being like, hey, how much do your rooms cost for
Right.
rehearsals? Like, how do you gather some actors and figure out what
Yeah.
you're doing? And like, do you know what? I genuinely will say, and I should say this because we both know them. Ian and Amanda Grieve fucking helped me out massively during that time, and they'll
Yeah.
never know. It was going through Showcase, watching them direct, and going through fucking Diary Project. um, like watching them direct massively influenced me, and like they'll never know how helpful they were.
Yeah, it's funny those like people who really make a big difference in
Yeah,
yourself personally, you know. Ian, I mean, I don't know Amanda as well. I know her quite well, but I wasn't never taught by her as well,
yeah,
as
I
much.
love
Sorry, but
Amanda.
yeah, me too. But me and Ian became so close through that, and he helped me so much too. You know, even just doing things like this, you know, like with the
Yeah,
podcast and promoting yourself and things like that. All right, we've talked. I knew this would happen. We've talked so much
yes,
about the podcast and stuff like that. I do want to ask you a little bit about your history watching movies because I have,
yes.
you know, heard, you know, I listened to the drama school dropout a bunch, and not gonna lie, sometimes I've been like, what when you've said you haven't seen a film, like
I'm not a
whether
massive
it's
movie person.
and that's absolutely fine. You know, I'm just one of those people that like I've tried to see
Yeah.
everything, so I'm quite weird
Well,
that
I'm a
way.
TV buff like that.
Okay, fair
Like
enough, fair
my
enough.
medium, I like short form television
Yeah,
programs.
I get you there. I get you
Don't
there.
get me wrong, people do look like they want to slap me when I say things like I've never seen Shawshank Redemption. I've never seen like I've not seen loads of great films. Like I look through your back catalogue and I'm like, can't listen to that. Like and Robert McCahill, who was in This Is Where We Get Off, I had to turn it off after 20 minutes because I've got no fucking clue what In Bruges is.
Talked about in Bruges. Well, I know
I was
it's
like, oh,
hard.
he mentioned This Is Where We Get Off. Great.
It's worth listening to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I tried to create it to the point where it's like you don't need to have seen the film. You can listen to the first half
Yeah.
of the episode and then you can turn off. But if you've seen the film, it's obviously a bonus. And if not, then hopefully then like it gives you a wee
Mm.
incentive to go watch it and stuff like that. But it's also been a miracle, by the way, that I've been doing this for so long and no one's picked the same film. A couple of people have suggested,
Well, I looked
you
through
know,
what
maybe
you'd
people do it.
done
You
because
know,
I
I
think
don't know.
you'd done Back to the Future, haven't you?
I have in the past. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've done a whole episode
Oh,
dedicated
well,
to it,
that
but I
would
have.
have been my second choice.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Um,
There's one of my favorite films of all time. Back to
I
the
love
Future.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, it's one of my favorite films. But this one, I knew no one will ever pick it ever again. Like you're
And
never gonna have to go through this. It's random as fuck. But yeah, I'm a TV buff. Like
that's
if
fair.
had this been about TV, like I could talk to you for 14 hours about Shameless or Two Pints.
Yeah. Are you watching
Like,
anything just now that you can recommend?
so I don't know. Do you ever like fall into like a Facebook hole and then you find like one of those dodgy like links, not links, like pages that are sharing full scale TV shows? So
Yeah.
I found that and I ended up watching this one. It was NCIS LA. It was like the season 8 finale or something. And I wanted to know what happened next. So I'm watching that right now. Recently got into The Crown. Um,
Okay.
but I have real controversial opinions about The Crown. Um, Anything else am I watching? Geordie Shore reunion, obviously.
Oh, classic.
Well, I'm from Newcastle, so
Right.
like
Right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Fair enough.
so like I feel like I'm obligated. But that's it. Like NCIS LA, The Crown, and then I cycle through TV shows like for comfort watching Big Bang Theory,
Yeah.
Shameless, Orange is the New Black, Shameless US is shit. Just had to mention it. Um, but yeah, no, I have like a really eclectic taste
It's
in
weird,
TV.
right? Yeah. I just started watching the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix show.
People keep telling me to watch it, and I'm just like, I'm one of those people. Like it happened with Squid Game, so everyone was ranting and raving about it, and I was like, well, I'm not watching it. Like,
No, I know. That's how it goes.
and
Like,
Squid Game was fucking brilliant. I loved
yeah,
it. Like,
Squid Game
can't
was
wait for
brilliant.
season 2, and I will eventually watch the Dharma program, but it will be after everyone else has watched it, and it will no longer be relevant.
Well, my thing is, I like to watch things that are relevant just because I like talking to people about
Yeah,
it and stuff. But I get annoyed when it's like everything is built up so much because then I'm already expecting it to be great. You know, I
yeah,
love going into a film that I know nothing about. I've tried to avoid as many trailers as possible. You know,
yeah.
going to see a
I
film
did
and
hear you say
completely
that
blind.
once.
You know,
Yeah,
I went to see Don't Worry, Darling, a couple of nights ago.
how is
Harry
it?
Styles. It's really good.
Because
It's really good.
I can't get on board with him, as an actor. Like, don't get me wrong, he may be very, very talented. I've never seen anything that he's been in. So I can only talk
What, Harry Styles?
yeah, I can't get on board with him because I don't know. I just have this such a massive issue with the fact that people like me and you train for so many years and can't get a fucking look in the door. Yet he is famous for one thing, and then it happens. Don't get me wrong; he may be really good and he might deserve it, but I'm just going to be prejudiced.
Yeah, he's also a one handsome man too. That helps.
I mean, we've all got our types.
That's true. That's true. No, I thought it was really good. I love Florence Pugh though. I think she's great. So I definitely recommend it. But again, I went in not seeing the trailer, and thinking it was just going to be like a Harry Styles kind of rom film.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. It was very Truman Show-ish. So I definitely would
recommend.
recommend.
I fucking love The Truman Show.
Another one of my favorite films. Yeah, definitely.
We got forced. Well, I'd say forced. We got forced to watch it in English for our GCSEs, and I loved it. I was like, "This is great. This is great."
Do you remember the first time you ever went to the cinema? That's always a funny question.
Yeah, we spoke about it already on this podcast. Peter Pan 2, Return to Neverland, with Blaine Weaver. This is the first memory I have of going to the cinema. I went with my mum and my dad. I don't think my sister was alive, or if she was, she wasn't there. Happier times. I love my sister. I promise you. I had a really weird thing with the cinema. So like I used to go all the time. Like I used to love the cinema. Like Orange Wednesdays. I'm one of those children.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And last year, was it last year? I don't know. When did the Batman come out? Was that this year? Or
last year. Oh no, that was this year.
This year. That's just how fucking long this year's been. I was just having a really shit time mentally, and I came out of uni one day and I just phoned my dad, my brother, not my brother either. What the fuck? My best mate who lives across the road. I bubbled up with him during lockdown, and we watched quite a few films. Disney Plused it all the way through, and he's a massive Batman fan. And I was like, "Do you want to go to the pictures?" Like, I can't go home tonight. And so we went and seen the Batman, and that was the first time I'd been in the cinema for 7 years.
Wow, yeah.
So the last thing I'd saw before that was the last ever Hunger Games, which is another one of my favorite films.
Cool. Yeah. I was going to say, do you have any other good experiences being there? Because sometimes it's like whatever happened in that actual cinema hall can either make or break your enjoyment of the film,
No, not really. Like, I'm not one of those people that's had like sex in a cinema. Like, I don't think that's what you were asking.
I meant by it.
No, like, like, I don't know, like, it's just for me, because I'm not a movie buff, it's just going to the cinema.
No, I
know that's like sacrilege and shit, but like,
yeah,
I also used to be a heavy smoker. Didn't like going to the cinema because I couldn't smoke in the cinema. Like now, I'm a heavy vapist.
All right, nice.
I can't believe I just said that.
I'm not cutting that bit.
I hate my life. But like, you just can't do things that I like to do. Like, if I'm relaxing or anything, like I want to like smoke, or that makes it sound like I'm doing drugs. Like I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
I like to just do things that relax me while I'm like watching, if I am watching a film, and you can't do that at the cinema. And I've got plenty of dodgy websites and a dodgy Fire Stick. Like I'll openly admit to
watch everything there. Well, listen, I used the Fire Stick to watch Raise Your Voice, which was Ingram's choice of film. No, listen, you don't need to be sorry.
No, I should.
That's what the podcast is for, ultimately, it's, as I say, self-promotion, it's making connections and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's making me watch films that maybe I'd never seen before,
and we'll never watch again.
Not only had I never seen Raise Your Voice before, I'd actually never heard of it before, which is rare for me.
Such a good film. It was in my Tinder bio for the longest time that you had to like this film to match with me.
Really? Yeah. So why did you pick this film, and when did you first see it?
Right, I'm going to preface this by saying, is it the best film in the world? No. Is it flawed? Yes. Is some of the acting shit? Yes. Is it like one of the best things I've ever seen? Yes. So I can't say this. I can't go into too much detail about this because I don't want to get anybody arrested. I have a member of my family that used to make bootleg DVDs, and we used to get sent like a massive parcel of like all of the latest films. This film came out in 2004, and this must have been about the time that I seen it. So I was 6, which my parents really didn't monitor what I watched on the television. And I don't know. I'm not a music person. Like, I'm not a film person. I don't listen to music. If I'm cleaning, I put a podcast on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a film that I don't know. It's just always like nearly 20 years old now. I had massively romantic ideas about going to drama school and like meeting the love of my life, and then nobody was the same age as me and all of that. And this
Right.
happens in this film. It's a great film. Don't get me wrong. Hilary Duff gets overdubbed with her singing. Like, I'm aware of the flaws. I'm fully, and it makes it more iconic for me. What did you think of it?
Well, listen, I'm definitely not one of these people that's like, you picked raise your voice. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those guys. If you're speaking to Gregor Duncan, then
Oh,
maybe you
he'd
would have
hate
got that.
this. He
You know?
would, like, I think if he would have known that, like, if we'd have done this before I got accepted to N Clan, I wouldn't have got accepted. Would have been like, no.
Well, I'm not. I mean, you're right. I'm probably not going to watch this anytime soon again. All right. However, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching it. I'm quite happy that it's something totally different. But I also am someone that grew up on Disney films and
Yeah,
like Disney Channel films,
yeah.
like High School Musical and Camp Rock, things
Top
like that.
tier music, top tier films.
These are like some of my films of when I
Mm.
was younger and that I grew up with and watched all the time. Like High School Musical, I always say is one of the reasons why I'm an actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
two
so
very different people. I'm sat here like Shameless and 2 pints are the reasons why I'm.
there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
But yeah, like for example, like influence in my life is things in
yeah.
High School Musical and Camp Rock and stuff like that. I'm not a singer or anything like that. I
Oh,
can't dance.
ask Iona about my singing.
But I won't. But like you can.
No, she's seen me cry over singing several
Oh really?
times.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
So yeah, so I can relate to films like this and films that came out
Yeah,
around this time.
I
There
think it's
is
a
a
perfect
certain
Y2K
charm
movie,
about it. It is absolutely a good Y2K movie. Yeah.
and it is stuck in that times. It's not like it doesn't still relate today. Like the fashions are iconic. Like
It's the
there's
same in any film. It's the same in
yeah.
any film.
It doesn't like it's not timeless. That's what I want to say. But there's some fucking good actors in it. Like
Absolutely.
John Corbett, Rebecca De Mornay. I do know her name.
Yeah.
David Keith. Like so many. And what's the other one? Rita Wilson. And
Rita
then
Wilson,
yes, she's
James
fucking great.
Avery from
Yes,
Fresh Prince of Bel Air. That was a big one for me.
and Lauren Mayhew, who
Mm-hmm.
a friend of the Drama School Dropout pod. She was fun. I
Nice.
nearly cried when I spoke to her. But yeah, no, listen, not it's not a great film. Like I'm aware of it. It's really not, and that is portrayed in reviews and but I think it's fucking great. And I
Yeah,
think it should be a West End musical.
and that's fine because it's like comfort films, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's like your favorites are your favorites. They don't have to be the greatest films of all time. I took a couple of notes, and maybe you can tell me some things you liked about it as well. But
right.
the first note I wrote was that the dad has the shortest fuse of any
Yeah,
parent ever. Like one moment he comes in, and it's like that's it, you're grounded, and that's
yeah.
it. I just thought that was hilarious.
But I do want to rewind slightly when we're talking about the film. The opening to this film makes me so happy when they're singing Joy to the World. Like
Yes,
it
yes.
just fills me with joy. Like, but yeah, the dad is a bit of a dick, and he really does like set off. But I kind of relate to it because we find out more in the story that
Mhm.
he basically was stopped from raising his voice. Do you like that?
That was very good. Nice. Right on the
and
nose.
so he couldn't go off to college and do like a football scholarship or whatever it was. And it's that small town mindset of like, I grew up in a small town, like I grew up in a little village just outside of Sunderland, and nobody ever leaves. Like everyone that I know from there is still there. And people do get kind of jealous when you do move away and when you do things that maybe people didn't expect you to do. I'm not saying that I've done anything
Of course.
to like that level, but people do get jealous. And so I kind of relate to it that, yeah, some people do. And I don't know, he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, I thought his performance was really good because I was starting to really dislike him. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what he's there for. Which I thought was really good. And 3 Days Grace.
Yes,
My
fucking
God.
great.
Did not expect that. I felt as if 3 Days Grace is like one of my like obscure American bands from the early
Yeah,
noughties.
that nobody knows about.
Like, yeah, well, nobody knows about them now, but clearly back then they must have been big enough to be like presented in this way, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do
because
you
there's
like
a
any
really
other
weird.
songs?
I'm not a music person. I have to say,
Oh
like
yeah.
my only reference to 3 Day Grace, 3 Days Grace is this film.
Yeah.
But there is a really weird point with 3 Days Grace in this film. So for anybody that hasn't watched the film, basically the older brother gets grounded on his graduation, and Hilary Duff, who plays Terry, she buys them tickets for 3 Days Grace to go to see the concert. And the song's playing, and she's like, "Oh my god, I get to touch his hand!" Right? We've all been there. Like we've all been there. I don't care who you are. But on the way back, while they're driving, the song's still playing, and they get hit by the car,
Right.
and it's a momentary like silence, and then it blackouts, and then the song keeps playing. And I think it's great. It's like we've paid the royalties for this song, so we are using it all. It doesn't matter that Jason Ritter has just died. Like we're using it, and I think it's great. I love it. But that's like 3 Days Grace. Like my only reference to them is this.
Fair enough. They weren't a big band, definitely not in the UK, but in America they must have been. There is one really good bit of filmmaking, at least one. I'm not going to say only one, but one really good filmmaking in this film. And obviously, the shocking moment where the brother dies. Did not expect that, right? I was like,
well, that car crash is impossible. It's been proven. He turns left on the road, and it's like actually impossible that could happen. Like, let me Google it. I was reading it the other night, but
really?
Science, raise your voice. Car crash. It's been scientifically proven that could not have happened. Is it there?
But it did, Ingram. It did in the movie, so it must have happened.
I can't find it, but it's the way that he turned in the road. It's scientifically, like, basically there would have had to been 2 roads going side by side.
Oh, okay,
exactly the same, when there wouldn't have been because there's already one there.
Yeah. Well, it's just the longest time before a car crash when you've realised you're going to crash your car out, because he looks obviously at Terry and it's like, oh, I'm going to die.
To the sound of 3 Days Grace.
3 Days Grace. Now you can't listen to them anymore.
No.
So obviously she sees the headlights of the truck that crashes into their car, right? And then the moment she goes on the open mic night to sing, she gets stage fright because she sees the light.
And it happens in the doctor's office.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that bit as well. And
so
then she overcomes it later.
Take note of those headlights, because it will happen again and again and again.
Yeah.
But no, I do. I think it's a great film. Probably going to watch it again.
James, absolutely. James Avery. It was a big part of my childhood growing up watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's sadly no longer with us as James Avery, but I'd never seen him in anything else. Never seen him as he's Uncle Phil in The Fresh Prince, and never seen him in anything else. So it was a really nice surprise to see him. And I was like, it's almost like he's a big name actor, and there's a couple of big name actors in this as well. But he's done, very minimal stuff in this film. So maybe it was just like we've only got him for a couple of days, or it's in his contract or something, or else you would think he would have been used more. Being such a big name.
I've never thought about that. Never. Like, yeah, probably that's exactly what happened. Like, I would imagine that.
Yeah,
he was a big name, and they wanted just like a cameo appearance.
Probably.
Like, we've got this hall, because the 2 scenes that he's in, I think, are both in the same hall. Like,
that's right, actually, yeah.
Let's do the opening and the closing of the film on day 1, and you can be like, get it in, get it him, get it washed. That sort of thing.
Absolutely, probably just
I don't know why the fuck I said that.
It's going to be the kind of theme of the episode. And then also the origins of a self-tape is sending a DVD to somebody. Here's my best bits on this 7-minute DVD.
Yeah, that is mad, isn't it? I never thought about that, actually, that was the origins of... Do you think people well, no, because self-tapes are only a recent thing, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but still, to get your foot in the door, to get noticed by a company, that is something you would do. You would send a VHS tape or a DVD, or you'd send a CD to get signed for to be a songwriter or whatever. You'd send CDs away the same way. Obviously, we're obviously very blessed now. I much prefer in-person auditions, but we're blessed.
Self-tapes.
The fact we can do self-tapes, we're quite lucky for, to get
100%.
seen for things, that we wouldn't have got seen before. But if you wanted to be seen for something in America or down south, if you lived up here or something like that, you had to send stuff. You know what I mean? I've never done it personally, but I guess I was too young and missed that time. But that's something I would have done.
Yeah, I've done self-tapes, but I've never had to burn a DVD.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't think I own, I've got loads of DVDs, but don't have a DVD player and don't have any piece of kit right now that has like a disc drive on it.
So there you go. They don't even put them in laptops anymore, which I think is crazy.
No, they don't. But I kind of like it because it makes the laptops lighter.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I don't have any discs to put in it. Do you know what I mean? But you still get like random. I bought a new printer last year, and all of the software came on a disc.
And then the whole thing is just on one disc.
I don't have a disc drive to like put this. It was. I had to fucking phone Epson or whatever it was.
Yeah, nightmare.
But yeah, no. the raise your voice. I think it's great. Like, what are the bits that I love? Like, let me think about it because
Yeah,
I'm
tell
very
me.
aware that I haven't wrote notes about this. I think I love all of the music. I love Hilary Duff. I'm such a slut for Hilary Duff. Like I think that although in some of the scenes she is overdubbed and she does have two voices and can sing in two tones like nobody else in the world can.
Yeah.
Like there's parts of it like the end songs are great. Like I love them. They're still on my Spotify playlist whenever I
Absolutely.
do listen to music. Like, and
Yeah.
I do think it's just like a Y2K version. I love what's his name, and I recently actually like I was very lucky. He doesn't act anymore, but I got to have a conversation with him over email. I was been like, please come on the podcast. Oliver James, that's his name.
Oh, nice.
And yes, he plays the British guy, Jay.
Yeah.
In
Jay.
he's a what does he do now? He's like a therapist, I think, and was like,
Really?
I'm not involved in that anymore, so I'll like pass. But thank you for loving the film, and I was like, I love you. But yeah, no, he's cool as fuck. Like I don't know, I'm an LA boy at heart as well. Like I went, and you know when people say to you like, I just went somewhere and it just felt like my place, and you'd look at them and you'd go, you're talking absolute bullshit, and you are like the
Mm,
biggest idiot I've ever met. That happened for me in LA.
really?
Like I fell in love with the place. I loved it, which is really weird because most actors fucking hate LA,
Right.
and I always get weird looks when I said no, I want to move there, and
Yeah.
like that's on the plan. But I think like at such a young age, there might have been something there that sort of knew because it was a British boy in LA that had moved. I don't know. I just felt that
Yeah.
relatability.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it, what makes that connection for
Mm.
you in that film, which is absolutely fair. I thought he did have a terrible depiction of a drunk person, at one point where he's like falling over the place and stuff like that
I
on the
mean,
roof.
have you seen me in Vanity Fair? Like, we're all good.
That's right. That's nothing we should talk about as well.
I
I
am
saw
not.
you in person.
Yes, I am, but I am not in a place to like sort of judge anybody's drunk acting because mine was not great.
Don't sell yourself short like that. I was going to say that our song at the end is really good.
I
It's
cry every time.
such a like High School Musical vibes, as I was saying, Camp Rock vibes. I really like it.
Yeah, no,
What's it
it's
called? What's the song called?
is it Jericho?
Jericho, really? It's in Chris Jericho, the wrestler.
Yes.
So it is.
No, that's the other one. That's the second one. The other one is called Someone's Watching Over Me.
Oh, of course it is because of his.
That's the ballady one.
Yeah, because of her brother.
She kind of fucked the film over as well, you know, because there was supposed to be a Raise Your Voice soundtrack, and she put the two best songs on one of her albums.
Someone's Watching Over Me is our fifth most streamed song on Spotify.
Rightly so.
Yeah,
Rightly fucking so.
that's a good one. Did you ever watch Lizzie McGuire?
Like I said, I had Parvo Telly when I was a kid, so we didn't have access to Disney Channel. But like,
Yeah.
I've seen like the odd episode. Like, don't get me wrong, I couldn't tell you like the storyline arc or anything. It was like the
Yeah.
same. But there was always those like TV shows like Even Stevens. I watched that,
Yeah.
but could not fucking tell you what happened in it.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen odd episodes of Lizzie McGuire, but I am
Yeah.
just a slut for Hilary Duff.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I think she's okay in this film. Absolutely. It's not as if she does anything wrong. You know
There's
what I
a
mean?
few moments. There's a few moments of like, oh,
Yeah, I
she
hate
does
the
a
moment.
great crying scene though. She's a good
She
crier
does.
in this film.
It's very American, though, isn't it? Like she's just running like she sees him kissing his ex, so she runs home and she rips out all the pages in his notebook and stuff. You know, like it's very American, and then that kind of like shows you what college and uni like looks like. You know, from when you see it in movies, you go, when I go to drama school,
Spoiler alert,
like that.
Not like that. And I've been to two. I've been to two, so I've been to more drama schools than most people, and take my word for it, it's not like that.
No. I mean, I loved a show called Zoe 101 back in the day as well, and it's all about a boarding school.
Yes.
And it's kind of like that as well, you know, seeing someone move away and you think, if I was ever to do that, I would live in a dorm with other people and it would be like this. And it probably wouldn't be.
It's like Tracy Beaker made a generation of kids want to be put into care.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
and then you get there and it's like, I just want my mum.
Yeah, it doesn't work like this. But like, yeah, Tracy Beaker definitely made like a generation of kids think that, oh yeah, we'll go to this house with a couple of adults and we'll just have a shit ton of fun all of the time.
Yeah.
Not again, not that I mean I can't say spoiler alert this time, but I imagine it's not like that.
Probably not like that, no. This is of course the Good Bit podcast. Can you tell me what you think the best bit of Raise Your Voice is? Or your
bit,
favourite bit?
no, I'll tell you exactly what it is. When they go on like the what's it called, the double date, and they're like, "Where are you taking us, Terry?" And she's like, "You'll see." And they end up in, where is it? I can't remember the name of the place now. They end up at that fountain, and Denise, played by Dana Davis, is playing the violin, and they all sing the song, and everybody's
nice.
like jamming out. I love that bit. Possibly the other best bit though is just like the end talent show.
Yeah, well, it's good. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Did you feel robbed when she didn't win the prize?
No, you knew she was never going to win it. It never happens. Like Camp Rock, Peggy won.
Right.
Mitchie didn't win. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm thoroughly Team Sharpay and feel that she should have been in the Winter Musicale because Troy and Gabriella are dicks. Like, let's just put it out there.
I didn't know we were going to say there.
No, I'm thoroughly Team Sharpay. Like, she was robbed. Like, not gonna lie. But yeah, like you knew she was never going to win. That wasn't her journey. Her journey wasn't to get the scholarship. Like right from the offset, the first thing that Denise mentions is like, I'm here for that scholarship. Terry's was like finding a voice again after her brother had died. Yeah. Like that was so you can kind of look at it right from the beginning and go, she's not winning this scholarship.
No, okay, fair enough. And then the whole full circle moment with her dad is quite nice too.
I'll still fuck him though. He's not going to let her come back.
That's true. He's like, yeah. At the end, he doesn't say you're going to come here next year.
He's like, we'll see.
Something like you might do, yeah.
And he's like, we've got to like figure out A, what your punishment is going to be for lying to me all summer, and B, we're going to figure out how the fuck to like get you. Like he would chop her vocal cords off. He's got like that. What do they call it? He's jealous of his own child because she's living out like his dreams of going off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like even though he didn't want to be a singer, she's like making it out of this Flagstaff, Arizona, as it's called.
Yeah.
I think it's a real place.
It is, I believe. Yeah, there's a play about it.
Yeah, he's living her dream, and he's a dick. Love the mom. She like stands up for him, but she could be a bit more like Simon. Shut the fuck up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like she's doing this. I really don't feel like they needed to lie. They could have just been like, she's going.
Yeah, that's it.
Because now that I think about it, actually, there's a massive plot hole in the film.
You just realised.
Well, the only reason she wasn't allowed to go at the beginning, other than it being LA, was the fact that who was going to help him in the restaurant.
Right.
And then she still went. Who helped him?
Maybe business dropped when she moved because she was the favourite.
Yeah.
She was away, and then business dropped.
Yeah.
I think we're thinking way too much into this. If I'm honest.
For a shitty 2000s movie. Yeah.
No. Listen, you stick to your guns. Listen, it's
listen. I'm aware of all of its flaws. It's not a great film. It's not going to win any awards anytime soon.
I just couldn't believe. Sorry, go on.
But if you just want to like lay in bed all night with a like loads of chocolate, a bottle of wine, like it's a good film.
Yeah, absolutely. Very easy to watch too. Like the moment where right before she goes out to perform, she runs home to pick up the necklace, and her dad is in there packing her stuff.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
Do you know what I want to know? How does he get in that room? Or are people not locking their doors?
No, they're not.
Or has he been given? Because I imagine all of the staff are at this talent show, so it's not like he could walk up and go, "I'm Terry Fletcher's dad. Give me her room keys." Yeah. Also, very lucky that he didn't start packing the other girls' shit.
That is very lucky. Well, and I would be like, so joke's on you.
That's Denise's shit.
Yeah.
But Denise, you're going home. Sorry, not getting the scholarship. I win.
Denise, you're moving in with my dad.
Yeah.
What a different film that would have been. Last words on the film then. What does this film mean to you? And when's the next time you're going to watch it? Is it going to be tomorrow?
Last words on the film is that I'm not like, I don't want people to listen to this and be like, I'll watch this and be like, God, this boy is delusional. Like, this is not a good film. No. I'm aware of it. It's a feel-good film. It's never going to win awards. I love it. I think that there's some really... Kat Dennings, who's Two Broke Girls. She's in it. Right. Hilary Duff, obviously. What's his name again? He died. Johnny Lewis, I think he's called.
Johnny Lewis plays Kiwi. Yeah.
Yes.
He's also in Drake and Josh.
Yes. He passed away in 2012, I believe. But the young cast in this, Lauren Mayhew has been like an announcer for WWE. She's done loads of shit. She's in Trolls. Like the young cast that are in this.
Hold up. Lauren Mayhew?
Yes, she was an announcer for WWE. I remember we spoke about it on the podcast.
WWE is like my favourite thing. Oh, for ECW, really, was she? That's interesting. What was her ring name? I didn't know this. Didn't have one.
It might be Lolo Mayhew because that's
Something
what
like
she
that.
goes by.
It's just that's herself. All right, she was only in for 1 year. All right, okay. I thought maybe it was like a ring name thing. Sorry, carry on. I was just like, whoa, you mentioned wrestling on the podcast.
It just has a really good, talented young cast, and I don't know, it's a feel good film, and I love it. And I really do think, and I don't know if I should say this because I'm kind of writing it. I really do think it would translate well into musical.
Nice. Maybe one day.
Definitely one day.
Yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that. All right, what are you got coming up? Obviously, you've got this new show coming up as well in April. It's April, is that right?
February. This is where we get off.
February, sorry,
because it was last April. So coming up, Drama School Dropout every Tuesday, unless I decide to have a week off because I've done that a few times this year.
Yeah.
Drama School Dropout every Tuesday. We just released episode 101. Yeah, that's right, with Katie Griffiths from Waterloo Road. Forgot what she was in there. The Ingram Noble show will be coming at some point this year, I think. I think it's just a case of I want to get some back recorded and then I'll release.
Definitely.
This is where we get off's coming back, and if anybody's out there got some acting jobs, I am available for work.
Yeah, where can they find you on social media?
At Ingram Noble, all one word, across all platforms. Or you can follow me at High Podcasts _ Is it got _? I don't fucking know. At Ingram Noble is your best bet to catch me. Is it High Podcasts, no _?
There you go.
But yeah, like lots of exciting things coming up. This is where we get off. Hopefully, we're going on tour. We're currently in the process of trying to figure out a Creative Scotland application and begging people for money.
Right.
So hopefully it'll come back. Well, it is coming back, but hopefully we'll get further afield with it because I do believe in it. We've refined the script a little bit, and it's looking really good. So please come along and see it. 11th of Feb, 2023, which I still don't know how I feel about because I think it's too close to Valentine's Day, but we'll see what happens.
Well, listen, closer to the time, feel free to come back on. We can talk about it some more.
Well, Heather can come on and do it because I don't have any more films to talk about.
That's true.
And I won't put you through. I won't put you through the Raise Your Voice again.
I know, but listen, we could talk about the podcast for so long, so there's always something to talk about. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ingram. It's been great having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
And maybe I'll come and stop by Drama School Dropout very soon.
I can imagine that will happen very soon.
Probably quite soon. Thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for watching the YouTube version. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you all down the road.